The term basic writing really was coined by Mina Shaughnessy in 1977 in Errors and Expectations, her book, which has been seminal for basic writing studies and rhetoric and composition studies altogether. But the definition that she had, she was trying to come up with a term that was not as derogatory or as demeaning as remedial, which had been the term used up until that point. And she instead coined the term basic writer. And the basic writer was a student who was, as she termed it, a beginner. A student who had a logic to his errors, but was a beginner with regard to issues of usage and grammar and style, mechanics of various kinds, clarity, organization, that kind of thing.
I think Laura really hit on something that's important, and that's that beginning writers, we're all beginning writers. Yes. We're all starting out. And we also make mistakes, but we have a logic behind making those mistakes. We don't make mistakes on purpose, but we're following a rule. We may be following the wrong rule, we may be interpreting it incorrectly, but we're not just making mistakes for the sake of making mistakes. And we all do that. We all are basic or developmental writers.
We are. That's a really good point. So the stigma that's come along with that term, or come along with the term of remedial, we need to realize that we're all basic with regard to something.
Right, and I'm glad that Laura mentioned getting away from the term remedial, which has the medical terminology associated with it, remediate. There's something wrong with you, so we're going to get it fixed, go out and get cured, and then when you come back, you can be a member of the academy. And that's a horrible way to look at people and a horrible way for students to perceive themselves.
Okay, so where do we find these students? I think we find these students everywhere.
That's exactly right. If you read the histories of writing instruction in the United States, you'll find that even the Ivies, Harvard and Yale, had developmental or basic writing students. They identified them by finding errors in their papers. They sent them away for those errors to get fixed. And so there's a certain percentage of students that come without the adequate preparation that would make them seamlessly flow into college level writing, and so they need some extra help, some extra time, some extra work to get up to speed, so to speak. But it exists everywhere.
Right, so it's a contextual definition in some sense. You know, depending on the institution, the particular university is going to have a very different definition of what a basic writer is potentially. So what sorts of writing and reading struggles do they confront? We talked about a few of these already. The grammar, the syntax, the usage, punctuation and spelling even, organization, clarity, those kinds of things.
And very often developmental students or students that we perceive as developmental or basic writing students haven't done a lot of reading. They just haven't been assigned a lot of reading. They don't read for pleasure. They just don't do that, and of course that's partly cultural these days. They also haven't done a lot of writing, and there are many reasons for that, including the educational system that we have now in this country, where teachers are so overloaded they can't assign a lot of writing, much less give feedback on it. So students don't have a lot of experience at writing and or reading, and that shows in their college classes.
Very important that we recognize that these students, while they may come in with less preparation, they are students who come in also having a great deal to give to the classes themselves too. So finding those ways in which they can become experts or bring their expertise that they already have to bear upon the classes, that's critical. Yeah.